Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing part 3 of my makeup declutter series, and today we are tackling palettes. Yay! So this is the situation that we have right now. Honestly, I have issues. It's totally fine. So if you want to see me declutter all these palettes, then please keep watching. Alright, so today we're going to be doing palettes. So, I honestly don't even know where to begin, and I know I'm going to be keeping most of these, but I just wanted to go ahead and go through and get rid of the ones that I know I'm not going to use, and also donate the ones that I have used and I will not be keeping. Those are going to go in a bin to my family and my sisters. If you haven't watched my previous videos, go back and look and you can see what I'm doing with everything. Also, I think I'm going to be doing a giveaway, a small giveaway of the things that I have not used in this whole declutter. I will keep you guys updated on how to enter the giveaway, but it will be on Instagram, so make sure that you go follow me on Instagram at mik.jade right here. I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, let's get started into decluttering these palettes. So I want to go ahead and say right off the bat that I am going to be keeping all of my ABH or Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. These are amazing palettes and they are travel friendly and super small and compact, and I like all of the color stories of them. And I feel like I can use all of them for different things. So the Soft Glam, this is relatively new for me, so it doesn't look that used, but this is the palettes that I have been wanting for a really long time, and I finally got it for Christmas, so I'm super excited about that. So I'm going to be using it a lot more, but I definitely have been wanting this palette for a really long time because it is really good for like brides and like soft glam looks, which is obviously a soft glam, but I am obsessed with soft glam and neutral looks lately, so this is going to be like an essential everyday palette. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping this one. Same with the Jackie Aina palette and the Carly Bible palette. These ones came out at about the same time, but I feel like they're really good sister palettes. I feel like they look really good together, and I love Jackie Aina and Carly Bible, so I will be keeping both of these. I just am obsessed with the color story. I didn't think I would like the Carly Bible one that much, but I decided to pick it up because the palettes were on sale at one point during the holidays, so I picked both of them up. And actually I really like the cool tones in this palette. Yeah, I just really like these palettes together, and I always just reach for them for certain shades, so I'm definitely going to be keeping these as well. Ooh. And then obviously the Modern Renaissance palette, I am just, you know, this is like an OG product. Everyone has to have the Modern Renaissance palette, and I finally started using it just a few months ago. Finally, I feel like I was the last person to ever get this palette, and I'm obsessed with it. I love the rosy tones. I love how you can just do like a neutral everyday tone. This is just like a good everyday palette to have, essential palette to have, and I will not be getting rid of this. I love this palette so much. This is the Be Perfect Clientele palette, the Makeup by Jaw Clientele palette. If you don't follow Makeup by Jaw on Instagram, you should, because she's freaking amazing and her looks are so cool, and she has makeup classes and everything that she does, and so she also teaches people how to do makeup, and she's just an amazing makeup artist. I really love her work, so I wanted to support her, and I saw that she came out with a palette with Be Perfect, and I asked for it for Christmas and actually got it, and I'm so excited. It is such a beautiful palette. It is a very neutral palette, which is kind of my vibe. I like neutral looks, but it has pops of color, and it has these greens, especially this like almost army green that really just calls me. It's like a khaki green. This palette is amazing. I've used it a few times, but I want to dig into it more because I just got it recently, and I just love the color story. I just feel like you can do a warm look, you can do a cool look, you can do a neutral look, and it has a bunch of shimmers too, and you can do pops of color. This purple is so beautiful, and yeah, I just really love this palette, so I will be keeping this as well. Okay, so I have a Dose of Colors palette. This is the Sassy Siennas palette. I got this in my BoxyCharm, and I just really like this palette. I think it's beautiful. I've used it a couple of times. I just really like the peachy tones. I don't really have a palette that has peachy tones, this pigmented, and so for that reason I'm keeping it, especially because it is so small and compact. I feel like I could use this for travel and just take this with me on a trip or something like that. Warm tones of the palette, so I am definitely going to be hanging on to this. I just like how tiny it is. It's so cute. Okay, so this is the Alamar, don't hate me for saying this wrong, but the Alamar Cosmetics palette. I got this in BoxyCharm, but I love these shades. I don't know what it is, but these shimmers are just like so pigmented and so, oh my god, like wow. They're so pretty and so unique, and I just like the story of this palette, so I will be keeping this. It's so beautiful. I am a hoarder when it comes to palettes. I just love palettes so much, but look how beautiful that is. Like, come on. Of course I'm gonna keep this. Speaking of Alamar Cosmetics, this should have been in my blush and bronzers video, but it was lost in this amount of palettes that I have. So this is the blush palette, the blush trio in the Fair to Light shade range, and so these blushes are so beautiful. They're so creamy, they're so pigmented, and I just really think this is a good staple to have, especially as a makeup artist. So for that reason I'm going to be keeping this, and I'm just going to go stick it in my bronzer and blush drawer. So this is the Makeup Revolution Reloaded Velvet Rose palette. I picked this up because I was doing a drugstore look and I wanted to find a good drugstore soft glam kind of look. This is honestly like a dupe for the ABH soft glam, but I feel like these shadows are all different formulas, and for some reason they just feel like different. So some of them are super pigmented, maybe a little bit too pigmented at first and not as blendable, and some don't have any pigment at all. And then the shimmers are okay. I just feel like this palette, I could get the same look out of my soft glam palette, so for that reason I'm going to be actually getting rid of this palette. I'm just going to donate it. Okay, so I have this Maybelline Nudes palette. Oh my gosh, this is probably maybe like 5 years old. This is so old, and look how like gross this looks. I do not like this palette. It's so cool toned. I don't know how I ever wore it. I think this one shade, this gold shade in here, was the only shade that I liked to wear. So yeah, I think this is expired anyway, so I'm gonna throw this away. Okay, so I have this Morphe palette. This is the Morphe 15N Night Master palette. I got this in my BoxyCharm, and it's like a cool toned, this mirror is really nice, but this is like a cool tone neutral palette, and it has little pops of purple in it. It's like a smoky eye palette. I think this is a very pretty palette, but honestly I feel like I have palettes that look like this, and I have not even used this palette at all, so I think I'm going to put this in a giveaway. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram, and I will have all my giveaway details there once I'm done with this series, so just make sure you follow me to stay updated. Okay, so I have this Violet Voss Essentials palette. Honestly, it hasn't even been used yet. It still has the plastic on it too. I didn't even like throw the plastic away. So this is a pretty palette. It just something that I feel like I wouldn't reach for. I don't really understand the color story, so for that reason I am not going to keep this palette. So I'm gonna put this in the giveaway as well. Okay, so next I have the Naked Honey palette. Oh my god, this palette is so beautiful to me. It is right up my alley. Like, this is just such a beautiful palette in my opinion. Like, this is my color story. I just like the mustardy tones. Like, I don't have any other colors like this. I'm definitely keeping this palette, and I just love this color story. So I just like the packaging. It's just so pretty and such a vibe. So yeah, I'm going to be keeping this and adding it to my collection. So next we have this bad boy. This is the James Charles Morphe palette. This is the big one, and I barely have touched this, and the reason being is because I'm not really a color person, but I have used it a few times, so I want to keep playing with color, and I feel like this is the perfect palette to use for that. So I'm gonna keep this. Also, I keep it for sentimental value, of course. I like to support influencers that I like, so for that reason I'm going to be keeping this palette, and I'm going to try to get more use out of it and be more creative this year. That is my goal in 2020, is to be a little bit more creative with my makeup looks, and when I look at this palette, it inspires me, so I am definitely going to be keeping this palette. This is the Violet Voss Holy Grail palette. So I actually got this in my BoxyCharm, and this palette is so beautiful. It's literally like the tones that I love. love. But I am so glad I finally got this palette, got my hands on this palette. So I am going to be definitely keeping this and using this a lot more. Okay, so next I have the Natasha Denona Gold palette. And you guys, I know this is so expensive. I actually got this as a gift for Christmas. And this is one of my favorite palettes that I own. As you can see, I kind of abuse it a little bit. But I really save this for special occasions only because it is so beautiful. The color story just speaks to me, especially these green, gold, and blue shades. For that reason, I'm going to be keeping it. I just love this palette so much. Yes, it is very overpriced, but I feel like the quality of these shadows is unreal. Like, it's just so beautiful. They're creamy, they're easy to blend. They really just do the blending themselves, and that's why I like to use this on clients, sparingly on clients, but I do like to use this palette on clients. I just think this palette is just so beautiful and has unique shades, like this brown sparkly shade. I will not be getting rid of this. I will definitely be keeping this. I just love this palette so much. Okay, so next I have the Juvia's Place Nubian palette. This is such an OG palette. This, I just remember Nikki Tutorials talking about this on her channel and introducing us to Juvia's Place, and I just fell in love with the quality of these shadows. These shadows are just so beautiful. So I think I'm going to keep this palette just for sentimental reasons. This is one of my first palette purchases that wasn't drugstore, so I think I'm going to keep this. It has some of the best quality shadows that I've ever owned, so I definitely think I'm going to be keeping this. So next I have the Morphe 35O palette. If you know, you know. This is like the OG palette. I don't know if I should keep this or not because I feel like I don't use this palette anymore. This is just brings back such memories of the original YouTube, and yeah, that's the only reason I would really want to keep this, because I feel like I have other palettes. But this is also a gift to me from my boyfriend. This is like one of the first gifts he got me, and I think I'm gonna keep it. I think I'm gonna keep it, and I think I'm just gonna stick it in my makeup kit and use it only for my makeup kit. And yeah. Okay, so I have this Natasha Denona. This is the Cranberry palette. It's just like this cute little bar palette. I got this in my BoxyCharm, and I just love like the color story of this. This shade especially I think is so beautiful, and because it is Natasha Denona and it's a cute little small palette, I think I'm definitely gonna keep this. It's a really good quality, and who knows if I'll need one of these shades. Oh my god, I have problems. I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna keep this. This is the Tartelette in Bloom palette. This palette is literally so beautiful. I love this packaging so much. I don't know what it is, it just speaks to me. But this is one of my original palettes. It's like a cool tone neutral kind of palette, and I think it's so beautiful, especially the shade Funny Girl is literally so beautiful on the inner corner. But I don't know, these shadows are not as good as I thought they used to be, so I think I'm going to oh, I love this packaging though. I think I'm gonna declutter this. I think I'm just gonna give it away to one of my sisters. So I have the Too Faced Palm Springs palette. This is gonna be like a warmer, peachier palette. I think it's so beautiful. And this is like a newer palette, I think, but I got it in my BoxyCharm, and I just love this palette. I love the color story of this palette. I don't know, I really want to film like a peachy look with it, just because this color story is calling to me. And I love the packaging. I think it's so adorable. But I'm pretty sure I have all of these colors somewhere in these palettes that I have. So I think I will be decluttering this. Okay, so next I have the Ace Beauty. Is that how you say it? Ace Butte? Ace Beauty? I don't know. Scarlet Dusk palette. This is still in the packaging, which kind of goes to show you that I literally have not even used this. It is very beautiful. I love this orange neon shade. I think that is so unique and so pretty. But I think that I'm gonna have to put this in the giveaway because obviously I haven't even used it yet, and I've had it for a month now. I think this is a beautiful palette. These two neon-y shades, this one's like a neon coral shade, pinky shade, and this one is like a neon orange. Those are so beautiful, and this palette's very unique, but I don't think that I'll be using those anytime soon, so I am going to put this palette in a giveaway. So next I have the Carly Bible PH Cosmetics collab palette. Oh my gosh, I just remember going into Ulta and this palette was everywhere, and she had the original palette. This is the deluxe version of the palette that she came out with, and I just think this palette is so pretty. Honestly, let me compare this to the ABH palette. These shades are almost the exact same, but I love this palette so much. This palette is definitely expired, but for sentimental purposes, I feel like I want to keep this palette just because I love Carly Bible and I like having her collab from years ago. So I think I'm going to keep this palette, especially because these highlight shades are so beautiful. Oh, crap. Okay, yeah, I'm going to keep this palette. Okay, so now I have the Butter London, what is this? The Butter London palette. Butter London palette. This came in my BoxyCharm a couple of months ago, and it came in this package that was supposed to be all clean beauty. So I did try this out one time, and I just feel like the eyeshadows did not perform that well at all, so I'm definitely going to be giving this away. It just came out kind of patchy and just almost like dry, so yeah, I didn't like this palette, so I will definitely be decluttering this. So next I have the Storybook Cosmetics Fairy Tales palette. This is the bulkiest packaging I've ever seen in a palette. I mean, it's cute. It looks like a book and you could like stick it on the shelf, but it is just not my vibe, and I just don't like the look of this palette. I think it's really like tacky in my opinion. I have tried this palette one time. I thought the shadows performed pretty well, but I feel like I have all of these shades somewhere or another in the rest of my collection, so I will be donating this as well. Okay, so next I have the Celestial Thunder palette from Dominique Cosmetics, and it still has the plastic on it. Oops. Yeah, it still has the plastic on it. This palette is very pretty, but I feel like it's not really speaking to me in a color story. That's probably why I haven't touched it yet. This shade, Eternal Light, looks very, very pretty, but I feel like I have a similar shade to that in my collection, so I feel like I am going to be putting this in the giveaway as well. I do really like Kristen Dominique, and I would like to try her Latte palette because I think that one is super pretty, but for now I am just going to go ahead and give away this Celestial Thunder palette. Okay, so this is the Desi Katie Dose of Colors palette. This is the Friendcation palette, and I am obsessed with this palette. I love it so much. It doesn't look like I have used it a lot, but I really have. I love this palette, especially the shade Just a Kiss. It is so beautiful. If you were to get any of these palettes, I feel like this might be my favorite palette of all time. Maybe. I just love all of these shades. I don't know what it is about this palette, but it just like speaks to me in ways that no palette does. I don't know what it is, but it's so beautiful. I love it so much, so I'm definitely going to be keeping this, and the packaging, bro, the packaging is so beautiful too. Alright, so let's get into these Jaclyn Hill Morphe palettes. Why don't we? These are actually the first launch that she had, so these are not the second round or whatever that they had to send out, so these might be patchy. I don't really know because I didn't really try most of these. So I have all four. I got the whole pack of them. So this one is the Dark Magic palette, and as you can see, I literally have not even touched this palette one time, so I think I'm going to put this in the giveaway. The only reason I wanted this palette was because of this green shade, and I honestly didn't even try it, so for that reason I will be putting this in the giveaway. I also have the Bling Boss palette. I have used this one time, but this palette, I just feel like none of these shades are something that speaks to me. I don't think that I would use any of these shades, even this dark purple one. I just feel like this palette is way too purpley for me, but I just feel like I could find these shades anywhere else, so I'm going to be donating this one. Next I have the Armed and Gorgeous palette. This one is really pretty, and I like the color story, so I think I'm going to keep this palette. I really like this green as well, but I also feel like I have this green in the Makeup by Jaw palette, so I don't know, but I like this this like sunshine shade, like sunny shade. I don't know, I think I'm going to keep this palette. I think it's a good color story, and I want to keep at least one of her palettes. I just, you know, I like Jaclyn Hill and I like her stuff, so I think I'm gonna keep this one. And then this one is the Ring the Alarm palette. I like the color story of this one too. I think I like the warm tones, and I feel like I can get some of the purple out of there. Okay, so I think I'm gonna keep both of these palettes. I think these are the ones that I would be most likely to use. So this is the Pure Festival palette. I think I got this in BoxyCharm a couple, or maybe last year sometime. This palette is pretty, but it's not something that I would typically go for, and I have swatched everything, but these pressed glitter shades, they're really hard to work with. I just feel like they don't really translate as well as they are in the pan, and I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of this palette. I think it's pretty, and I feel like it could be better used to someone else, so I will be donating this. Next, I have this Huda Beauty Topaz Obsessions palette. I think this palette is so pretty. It's very warm tone, and I've never owned Huda Beauty shadows before, so I think I'm gonna keep this palette, and I really think it's so convenient and smart packaging for travel. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this palette, and I really like this orange shade. Yeah, definitely keeping this. All right, so I have this ColourPop palette. This is actually a magnetic palette where I made my own little tiny palette when they first came out with their eyeshadow singles, and I actually love ColourPop shadows. I think they're so beautiful, but I feel like I don't use these anymore. I used to use them all the time, and they were just so pretty. But I think I'm gonna get rid of these. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and give these to my sisters or something. But yeah, I really do like these shadows. I love the quality of ColourPop. I think they're just such beautiful shadows, and pigmented and blendable. I love them. But I just don't like these shadows anymore, or don't like this color story anymore. So yeah, I am going to be giving these away. Okay, so we are almost done. We're getting to the last 4, thank God, because I am over having so many palettes. Okay, so the next palette I have is the BoxyCharm Pure palette. So this was made for BoxyCharm, and this palette is kind of cute, but I don't really see myself wearing these colors that often. The peachy tones are very beautiful, and I don't have anything like these, but I feel like this isn't a palette that I reach for, so for that reason I am going to be donating this. Next, I have the Tarte Skin Twinkle palette. So this is a highlighting palette, and I probably should have put this in my previous video with my bronzers and highlights, but it just got lost. But this is a highlighting palette, and these highlights are pretty soft, and wow, that didn't even show up. What the heck? Yeah, these are not good. So I'm gonna be giving this away. Yeah, I'm just gonna be donating that. I have the Curating Picante palette, and this one is in the packaging. I just got this month in my BoxyCharm. This palette is so beautiful. It has a bunch of different shades. It's a very warm palette, but I feel like I have all these shades somewhere else in my collection, so for that reason I'm also going to put this in the giveaway. So make sure that you follow me on my Instagram to stay updated for the giveaway. So this is the Jaclyn Hill palette with Morphe. This is the original one, and I just remember this palette being so hyped up, and I just remember setting my alarm and waking up super early to get in line for this palette, and I remember it selling out in like 5 seconds on the Morphe website. So this brings back such good memories that I have of loving and watching Jaclyn Hill. She was the first person I ever watched on YouTube, but I do love this palette so much, and I will definitely be keeping this. This is probably my favorite palette in my collection, just because of the shade range, the color story, the blues in there, the eyeshadow quality. I just love this palette so much. So yep, definitely gonna be keeping that as well. Okay, so I got these palette dividers from Amazon. So I'm going to be sticking my palettes up here on display, at least 9 of them to fit in these slots, and then the others can go in the drawer. I actually bought 2 of these, so I might move this big thing. This is also off Amazon. I might move this big thing of all my stuff and maybe display all my palettes up on this shelf here. Okay, so yeah, I ended up just keeping about 9 palettes up here, and then if I decide to, if I start running out of room again, I'm going to just stick the other palette organizer up here and move this over somewhere else and have all my palettes just standing up here, and then I'll have more room in my drawer for other smaller palettes or something like that. But I wanted to put these ones on display because I love them so much. So yeah, I am going to show you the drawer though. So I ended up organizing this a little bit differently, and I ended up putting all the face palettes in here as well. So I have all of my eyeshadow palettes on this stack and back under here, and then I have my face palettes on top. I think I might figure out a easier way to do this, and maybe I'll stick some of my face palettes up top in the palette organizer. I'm not sure, but yeah, I figured I'd put my smaller palettes in here so they don't get lost in this drawer, and then put face palettes and everything like that in here. But I'm going to go back through and organize everything, and then that's going to be in the next video, I believe. So just stay tuned for that, and I'll show you guys how I organize everything at the end of all of this declutter.